think in hindsight, it was slow early on, kind of finding our footing in the game, and we found it when we needed to, right? I think, some opportunities where I definitely like to have some opportunities back, regardless of whatever's going on. You got to keep shooting. You got to keep going. You got to keep attacking, and you have to trust within the unit that this is what we're going to do and going to have confidence in that.
Swagu, I was thinking about you during this game because I thought as a defensive guy, you probably love one like this, right? I mean, as much as people want to see things happen offensively and see some action happen, but the Philly Eagles still get a win. What can you say about what stands out to you about the way they did it last night?
Championship pedigree. I mean, Jalen alluded to it, finding times to make plays in a game that you saw how it was going early, Boogie, and you mentioned the defenses, but obviously the kick out to Saquon for a big play, the push down the field to Devontae, and he goes up and wins. This has become about players sometimes for the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is without A.J. Brown having a significant impact, but his pocket movement to me was one of the themes of the night, just extending plays, keeping them going. We saw Micah Parsons on the prowl, and Jalen was able to elude. That is one of the advantages of having a guy like him in these games. And also, while on the move, making good decisions. Outside of the fumble that got punched out, this was about turnovers in this game. This was about who was going to get a critical turnover in this game or who was going to make the play when it was needed. And Philly once again showed championship pedigree. I didn't like the end of the game with Green Bay having an opportunity to kick a field goal, but ultimately the team that has championship pedigree found the 2 or 3 hidden plays that they needed to make in order to come out on top.
You thought that was the right call?
For Philly to go for it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that later. Go ahead.
Go for it, for sure.
Mentally tough. Is there a more mentally tough and more mentally resilient team in the NFL? And I would say competitive greatness. It wasn't pretty, and I actually think it was more performance, or a better performance than maybe the numbers suggested. But that's kind of what this team is. Remember in the spring or a month ago, that's why Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni remind me a little bit of Brady and Belichick, because their run wasn't always pretty, but it was always that competitive greatness. And I go to the Devontae touchdown pass, and I just think of that was the one shot they got all game. Formation into the boundary, and it's A.J. Brown at the bottom of the screen. So it's quarters defense, right? Every defender has a quarter of the field, that's their zone. Naturally, the eyes are going to be paying attention to A.J. Brown at the bottom of the screen. So you get the ball fake, the tight end in the back, scissors. That downfield safety, that's where Jalen pumps. They're trying to get that safety to sit. I've now created the space for you, Devontae Smith. You have to go win. And you can go all the way across the field, which he does, and then makes a play. That was the only shot they had, though. And I go back to some of the quarterbacks that we've got to sit with on Monday Night Football this year. And, Sam Darnold was the guy that was like, with the way defenses are playing nowadays, you only get so many shots every game. And to win, you have to hit them. And I think that's the example last night. They didn't have many opportunities, Philly. One. And Jalen Hurts made that one play with Devontae at that one time, and it's the reason they win the football game. It's competitive greatness.
Yeah, thinking about it on the Packers side, I mean, Jordan Love had that shot to Christian Watson, and he didn't get that completed.
The difference in that game with great teams.
You never know. They might have scored there. All right, Mina, it was a low-scoring game, but what about the defense from Philly last night?
My big takeaway from this game was that the Eagles' defense addressed what I thought was probably their biggest issue, was the lack of four-man rush, right? As much as we've worried about the offense, watching them at times, that defense has not gotten pressure with 4. And Jalen Phillips was a massive part of that. So was Nolan Smith returning. But you watch both of the sacks. I mean, Jalen Phillips is partially responsible for both of them because of the attention that he drew. First, the back, so Nakobe Dean comes through. And first was, the Jalix Hunt sack where Jalen Phillips is chipped, so Jalix Hunt gets a one-on-one. And then Nakobe Dean comes through because the back is worried about Jalen Phillips. I also thought he was extraordinary against the run. I think this is a big part of the reason why they traded for him. Vic Fangio really wants edges who can set an edge, and he was excellent, obviously, on the 4th down, but throughout the game, I thought he was making numerous good tackles. So I come out of this game not panicking about the Eagles' offense, as bad as it looks at times, and feeling a heck of a lot better about this Eagles' defense as they head towards the stretch.
Yeah, and you really got to feel good about the Packers' defense, too. I mean, in their 3 losses, they've held teams under 20 points. New on NFL Live, this from Adam Schefter. The Packers officially placed their center, Elton Jenkins, on injured reserve, signing linebacker Christian Welch from their practice squad to their active roster. Just unfortunate. Jenkins suffering a fracture in his lower leg during Monday night's game versus the Eagles. And basically the second that it happened, they got him carted off the field right before halftime. And bad news for a Packers offense that's struggling. Back to last night, Green Bay 7 points last night, were its fewest in a home game under head coach Matt LaFleur, while the Packers 20 points over their last 2 games are their fewest in any 2-game span under LaFleur. Here's Jordan Love after the loss.
It's frustrating, and I know as a defense, they definitely have every reason to look at us and say, "What are you guys doing? You guys need to figure it out and help us out, put us more points because they're doing a great job." So it's frustrating, but we'll stay together. We'll keep the energy high and find ways to get better and be better as offense.
One of the most fascinating things about being on the sideline last night was watching LaFleur, who's very much involved in talking to Jordan Love, and he's got his play sheet there, and he's looking at that thing like, what can I do to get him more comfortable? And some of that has to do with the defense, but what did you see from the Packers offense last night?
Now, last night is why I hate when people say protect the football. I just don't believe in that. This offense needs to rip the Band-Aid off. They got to stop playing so cautious. I think you're watching a quarterback play cautious. I also think you're watching Matt LaFleur call it cautiously. The reality is Jordan Love, people have this narrative around him like this walking interception, walking turnover. He's really not. He's been actually really good valuing the football, top 5, top 6 in the NFL over the last 2 seasons. He's not that guy.
But hold on.
But here's my thing, Marcus. There's situational football, I get it. Like this situational football and a half, I would take a shot there. But if you're aggressive, you take the shot there. This play that Troy talked about, how are you not aggressive there throwing the football? For me, that's a cautious quarterback that is trying to protect, and not make a mistake.
Yes.
All right.
I'm
really
sorry.
fast, really
Dan
fast.
said.
Let's let Mina go first, and then we'll go right to Swagu. Go ahead, Mina.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so I agree with everything Dan said. People think that Matt LaFleur is calling conservative game plan to protect Jordan Love. I don't think that's true. I think he's calling the game the way he does because of the offensive line, which is bad right now. It's very injured, right? The problem is this. They can't run the ball. The offensive line might not be good at pass protection. They sure aren't good at run blocking either. And Philadelphia was basically daring them to run the ball. Josh Jacobs faced light boxes 2/3 of the time. He averaged 2.9 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So you have that. Okay. Then, again, with the conservatism, on early down, first and second down in the first half of this game, Jordan Love had an average depth of target of 1.5 yards.
See, that's
again,
outrageous.
I understand you're trying to protect him, but all you're doing is setting up third down because you don't, without Tucker Kraft, you don't have yards after the catch guys anymore. So my feeling watching them is, and I agree with Dan on this, first down, you got to throw downfield. When they tried play action at some point, it worked because all they're doing right now is playing for third down, and the game is so tight that every little drop, every little penalty matters. It's way too conservative at the moment.
I agree.
Okay, so I agree, and Dan, I wasn't cutting you off to disagree with you.
Sure.
Why? My question is why? Move the quarterback. Find alternative ways to create explosive plays. It's not like Jordan Love is not a guy that's athletic. Why don't you try to create some of these explosives? I've heard we talked about how good Matt LaFleur is at his job. Why can they not figure this out? Mina brings up the offensive line. Is he worried about his quarterback and the decision making?
I think they missed Tucker Kraft,
But this team was by committee.
Go ahead, Marcus.
But this team was by committee when they were having success.
No.
We talked about how they didn't. Go ahead.
I'm with you, fella. And I understand your why. I think we're all probably searching that. We're all probably trying to figure out why. And we've talked about the offensive line. I think from the offensive perspective, Marcus, I would tell you this. As an offensive play caller, when you know your offensive line is not a great offensive line, the last place you want to be is 3rd and 7 plus, 3rd and 8. That's the story of the game last night. They were terrible on second downs. Don't play the tape, Aaron. But then what happens is on early downs, you're like, well, let's just get efficient. Let's just try to get 3 yards on first down and 4 yards on, so we're not backed up. But it's actually reversing the thought process. It's
so
hurting
then my
you more
question
than
becomes, but Dio, then my question becomes, why do we think this is a potential championship team then?
Because their defense is so good.
We all have relegated that.
Yeah.
that if you worried about an offensive line, should we be having a conversation about Green Bay being one of the teams that can win a championship? Yeah. If you have to operate like this, we saw a couple weeks ago this team get beat by the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. And as much as we talking about how much we love this defense, I saw Rico Dowdle run for 160 plus yards. And now the following week, we having a conversation about an offense that's afraid to be aggressive because of the offensive line. How can we talk about Green Bay in the vein of being a championship team in the NFC? And we've seen 2 weeks where it's catastrophic on both sides of the ball.
I want to say this. Until a couple weeks ago, the offense was actually moving the ball well. I think the loss of Tucker Kraft has been monumental. The offense ran through him, right? And this was a offense predicated on Yak that compensated. The way they compensated for the offensive line was they had a human monster truck who got yards after the catch. He's gone. So they need to make adjustments based on the players they have right now. You don't have Yak players. You have guys who can win downfield sometimes. Not like Philadelphia. But you got to take the governor off of this because they can't play the way they played earlier in the season and win.
Marcus, so are they protecting the quarterback? I mentioned the interception stuff. The only guys that are throwing interceptions at a lesser rate in the last 2 years are Hurts, who's historical right now with it, Lamar, Caleb Williams, Matthew Stafford, Patrick, and Herbert. Jordan Love is not this walking giveaway that people kind of have painted him to be. So I really don't think it's this protecting the quarterback. I think my perspective is now we need to unleash him. We need to hand him over the keys and say, this is your football team now, and you got to go be aggressive for us to be good enough on offense.
Yeah. Let him go be
but
the star.
This is the team. This is the team that we saw go to an NFC championship
2 years ago, Marcus.
Number one.
But
but that's what I'm saying.
But they had a good offensive line back then.
The O-line.
Go ahead.
The O-line. It's the O-line. And then, no Golden, no Reed, no Kraft last night do matter.
You're not going to get Kraft back, but you will get Golden back.
I just think it's a mindset thing. I think in the whole building, it's a mindset of, on offense, they play defensive. They play defensive. Marcus, you're right. They just play defensive.
Stop playing for third down.
Correct.
Yes. Stop playing for third down. I'm telling you, every third down is like, oh my God, it's a tight window throw and he barely caught it. You got to cut that out.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Sorry,
we'll see if they can.
The reality is Tucker Kraft is not coming back.
Correct.
And you just lost Elton G. Either you, to your point, Dan, and I'm agreeing with you and Mina, become explosive, bro. This is almost like YOLO. Like, go for the gusto early in games if you know that you have these issues.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to comprehend with us having this conversation. Because the way we talking about them and all of the issues, there's no path forward outside of you trying to create explosives.
Yeah. It's urgency. Create urgency on offense.
Okay.